Hello everyone, and welcome to another Motionbuilder VTM. This time around we're going to be exploring the intricacies of facial animation. My name is Jason Busby, also known as Buzz from 3dbuzz.com, and joining me as always is Mr. Zach Parrish.
What's up?
How's it going, Mr. Zach?
Pretty good. How are you, Buzz?
Doing well, you know. It's one of those days. Getting set up, gonna do a little animating. Going to have you get over here and do a little driving as always.
Oh, I wouldn't expect any less.
Just so that I can be entertained for a while. I'm just kidding. You know, I got to say this, Zach. You know Motionbuilder now.
Yeah, I'm really starting to get a feel for this program.
Yeah, it's a great application. Now every time I put you over here to do things, it's not quite as funny as it used to be several issues back when it was like, where'd the button go?
I know.
Now I come in here and you're doing stuff in it. Kind of scary if you think about it.
A little.
Yeah, okay. So this VTM is going to take a look at how we would go about getting models from Maya and 3ds Max and bringing them over into Motionbuilder, performing facial animation. There's a few different approaches that we can take in pulling the animation off, and we'll take a look at all three different approaches that are available. And then finally we'll look at exporting everything back over into the appropriate application. Now, before we really get started, I'd like to take a second and thank somebody here. The lovely model that you now see in the viewer happens to be that of Mr. Joe Clark.
Oh, yeah.
Joe, thank you very much for lending us your model for showing and demonstrating how to go about doing facial animation in Motionbuilder.
Actually, it's really creepy. It's like Joe actually lent us his head. This is a model of his own head, and it looks so much like him that it's actually quite scary.
What's up? There. He actually just said something to you.
There you go.
You feel good?
I feel good.
Joe's an old student. Joe used to work for me. He moved on. He's now working for Microsoft in the Xbox division.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Joe is just an incredible animator, unbelievable modeler. And it was really nice of him to kind of step up to the plate. Him and I were talking on the phone. I was like, I'm going to have Zach put together some facial stuff and a whole bunch of different morph targets. And he's like, well, so how long are you going to give Zach to do it? I was like, my standard, probably 30, 40 minutes. And he was like, oh, no. Would you like to use my head? I mean, this would be probably a little easier on Zach. So I think he felt the pain that Zach was going to be going through.
I think he did. I think he understands the kind of pressure that Buzz can put on a person.
So, hey, I try not to.
Oops, I'm sorry.
So it was very kind of him to donate his head for doing this.
Absolutely.
He's walking around headless now. So let's go ahead.
We'll email it back to him later.
Yes. So thank you very much, Joe. So let's go ahead and take just a second and actually talk about some of the lessons. Basically, we're going to be looking at in the next lesson how to go about model setup. Basically, it's going to be defining your shapes is what they're called inside of Motionbuilder. We're talking about your morph targets or your blend shapes. We're not going to go through actually doing the modeling required to take a base model and deform it into a target, if you will, that you will blend to.
Right.
What we will do is we will talk about blend shapes inside of Maya and how you set them up, and we will talk about morph targets inside of 3ds Max and how you go about setting that up. After that is set up, we'll then show you how to export your file over so that you can pull it into Motionbuilder. And then once inside of Motionbuilder, we'll move on to taking a look at first the character face and actor face assets. Two very important assets when working with facial animation in Motionbuilder. From there, we'll take a look at animating with keyframes. Why? Because that's generally where you start when it comes to animation.
Right, it's just like a standard for animation.
Basic keyframe animation.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we've got a lesson on this. I know all you guys out there already know how to do keyframe animation, but there's some things that you need to know here in regards to what's the relationship between taking your model and having it blend between all of your different shapes that you have brought in. How do you go about scrubbing through audio that you've brought in? I mean, so there's a few things that we do need to go over. It's not going to be a long lesson, but still an important lesson. From there, we're going to go back out over into Maya, and we're going to take a look at clusters. What clusters are, how you go about setting them up, and then we'll come back into Motionbuilder with the lesson after that, and we'll talk about how to go in and create cluster groups, and then how to animate those cluster groups, which is another method of doing facial animation inside of Motionbuilder.
All right.
Then from there, we're going to move into an explanation of how to use voice devices. This is where things get really cool. This is where basically you can say, I don't feel like doing all the work of animating by keyframes and clusters, too much moving stuff around. I just want it to be automatic.
Exactly. So you can just go in there and start talking into your computer, and your model will talk right back to you.
Yeah, exactly. You can just set it up. Basically, it'll work off of input coming in from a microphone. It'll work off WAV files. It's very cool how it works. There's some setup involved. There's some tweaking involved. But if you get it panned out nicely, it's really amazing.
Very powerful.
And we've used it once before at the Renaissance Center. We actually had Filmbox there back in the day of Filmbox. And we actually used voice reality for doing a character that was projected up on a 60-foot dome, and the character was able to talk and interact with the crowd. It was really cool.
Oh, very nice.
Basically, we had a person up in the top of the cybersphere, as we call it. It's a planetarium, more or less. And they were the one back there actually controlling the computer and everything. And then we had an actor or somebody that walked around with a microphone, and they could ask people questions. The question was asked, and the person up in the top could then respond, and this huge character up on the screen would then talk back in real time, and it was amazing. It was
That's incredible.
Really, really cool stuff. So it's very fun. A lot of technology, a lot of power available right here at your fingertips.
That's awesome.
So we'll explore how to go about setting up voice devices, and then after all of that, we'll finally wrap everything up with how to go about plotting and exporting your animation back over into Maya or 3ds Max.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we've got lined up in this VTM right here. It shouldn't be a very long one like some of the ones in the past. Really easy to go about setting this stuff up, but very important that you know how to do it. So with that, Zach, let us go ahead and get started.
Let's rock.